five-man rotation for you?
Well, he hasn't had a chance to play much at all. The thing that I thought was most encouraging about David the other night, and I actually mentioned this to David, and he said, that's right. When he's played, he's always played in the first half, and he's sped up. He's sped up in the first half, at least offensively, and then he hasn't had a chance to play much in the second half because all our games have been close. And the other day he played in the second half, and he looked like he was the most poised, slow-motion guy out there. So, that shows me, he just needs reps. But, yeah, he's very important moving forward in so many areas. And I see him definitely playing more. I know there's certain situations where we may not can as much depending on matchups and things, but I definitely see him playing more, and certainly Arizona State would be a nice way to kind of start that because they're going to play bigger than the way most teams play.
How are they as a team different from last year, if at all?
Well, I think that they are different because last year they had those three little cats that can just go make plays, and this year they're a lot bigger, and they're obviously talented and athletic, probably more athletic than last year. Without question, but we had such a hard time guarding the ball last year against them with their quickness, and now we're bigger and maybe not quite as quick, and certainly they're bigger, and so it would be two totally different teams playing against each other compared to what it was like last year.
For David, where have you seen the most growth in his game from October to December?
I would say. To me, his intellect is very, very good, very high. I think he really understands what we're trying to do to win, and I think that's hard to do sometimes when you're not playing very much. I also think that, we've always known he's had a motor. We always knew he could rebound the ball. He goes after balls with two hands and things like that. But I think his offensive skill set has definitely improved. He just gets sped up. Where he can't, left-hand jump hooks outside the lane that are guarded, just things, that gets excited and sped up. I really think his pace is much better now than it was because as he can get kind of sped up sometimes, he's much slower in many ways than he was even 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Bill, I know that when you build the schedule, it just kind of work out the way they do sometimes. But in a kind of a more balanced world, would you like to play more true road games in the non-con?
I don't think so. I think the number of true road games to play is 2. I think that's the number. And if you look at the schedule, you'd understand why. Because you play 2, then you play, let's say, 3 neutral games at a exempt tournament, then you play the Champions deal, and you got different things going on, and you got to make your budget. So I think the way you could look at it is, instead of saying how many true road games, how many games away from home compared to how many that are at home. And I think ours is, I could be wrong on this. You guys can correct me. What is ours this year? Is it 8-5 or 7-6, something like that? But people would be saying, and you would too, if we had already played Arizona State and Kentucky on the road with home games left, then you'd say, oh, geez, they've already been battle tested away from home and all that stuff. So I think the timing of playing those 2 road games being late, may not be the best, but I still think 2's the number. Just probably would rather do them a little bit earlier.
ASU has a freshman, leads them in steals, points, 20 a game, Lou Dort.
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
Well, he's a guard. I mean, but he's built like a safety. He's really beyond his years physically, and he was a highly recruited kid. But I think what he's doing has been even a pleasant surprise, maybe to ASU. I can't speak for them, but I mean he could be a lottery pick, and here he is as a true freshman that probably wasn't as projected as high as some out there. So he can score from beyond the arc, and he can certainly use his body and power to get to the hole. He's really a good player. He's like now don't take this the wrong way, a Marcus Smart with skill. I mean, he's a tough cat, and I mean that in the sincere form of flattery, because I love Marcus Smart. His competitiveness and strength and those things. So I think there's some similarities like that, but I do think that he can, shoot the ball at a pretty high clip, especially if he gets on the roll.
You said early on that at home, Dedrick was playing kind of off balance. Has he stabilized in that area?
Yeah, I mean, you mean like physically off balance? Yeah, I thought he was, if you go way back to Vermont, when he, made a shot sitting on his butt. No, it wasn't Vermont, was it? Vermont, he may have been scored. I can't remember, but there was, maybe that's Louisiana that he did that. But yeah, I think there's been stretches, but I haven't noticed that in the last several games of him maybe not having his legs underneath him. I think he's much better with that.
Are these first true road games typically pretty revealing for your team? What do you look to learn from your guys?
You know what? I think so. But just because you go on the road and you win doesn't mean that you conquered it, or if you don't win, it means you lost it. I think that the statistics show it's hard to win on the road, but usually hard road games bring a tighter huddle. Certainly bring a kind of a focus that's a little bit sharper maybe than what it is when you think you're comfortable, even though you're never really comfortable. So I think we'll learn some things from our team in this way, and certainly we need to go play with a free mind but with the sole purpose. And I think that we will. I think it'll be a great test for our guys to play a quality team like this. And they're coming off a loss, and they had a long road trip themselves, if I'm not mistaken, Georgia and then Vandy, and they're coming off a loss, and the game before that may have been Nevada. So how about that 3-game stretch? And none of them at home. So they'll be amped up and ready to go.
So big picture, what do you think about your defense right now?
You know what? I was really encouraged after the Villanova game, and not very happy at all after the South Dakota game. It wasn't very good at all. I think that whether we want to admit it or not as coaches, I do think there's something that when there's anticipation to play a game of magnitude or national implications, you approach it a lot differently than you do sometimes another game. And I didn't think our approach was close to the same against South Dakota as what it was against Villanova. Against Villanova, I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. Against South Dakota, I didn't feel that at all.
Some of that you've been asking guys to pressure out more, maybe get teams out of their offenses. Yeah. Is that something you want to see more of?
Well, yeah, we'd like, the thing about, even if you can watch a lot of teams, and a lot of teams don't pressure hard, but they pressure to a certain point on the floor. And so, we're not going to be a team that just picks up full court and does a lot of different things, but we can make them feel us, certainly earlier in a possession or higher on the court than what we have at other times. And, if you let somebody just be comfortable and initiate offense, usually after if it's initiated, it's hard to get it back. If you don't start out in the right spots, you're probably not going to end up in the right spots. And so, just the thought of, if you make the guy catch it at 22 rather than at 20, that may not seem like a big deal. When you're just taking away a 3-point shot, now you can play him as a driver or a passer, as opposed to, bringing his shot and shot fake into play. So those are the kind of things I'm talking about. And I think we are doing a better job with that one thing. We're doing it better. But mental breakdowns, getting backdoored out timeouts when, hey, they're going to backdoor right here. This is what they're, and still though, doing that. And when that happens, it's usually done because they're trying to do what we ask them to do in some ways, but it's not the right time to do it. It's okay to, middle of a possession to, really get out and overplay and this and that. But if they're going to try to back cut you, maybe that's a possession. Maybe you kind of think about that before you overextend. And I don't think we quite got that yet.
So it was one of the little things you were disappointed with defensively, because obviously South Dakota didn't shoot a high percentage or score a ton.
Oh, no. But you know, just because somebody makes a shot doesn't mean you play bad defense. And just because somebody misses a shot doesn't mean you play good defense. You know, it's a good or bad shot when it leaves their hand. And there was a lot of times where we didn't scramble very good or whatnot. But, you know, without putting too much emphasis on that one game, I also know that we played a little hungover too.